Welcome to Getting Out of the Pain Lane with Dr. Richard Klein. Brought to you by the Michigan Head and Neck Institute in Warren with your host, John McCullough. The Michigan Head and Neck Institute exclusively treats TMJ and obstructive sleep apnea for thousands of patients every year. Now, here's John McCullough with Dr. Richard Klein.
And welcome into Getting Out of the Pain Lane with Dr. Richard Klein, and we welcome you to the program. Our telephone number, 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. And for those of you who are interested, we are broadcasting this on Facebook Live also. And just go to patriotdetroit.com and you can follow the directions there. Actually, easier way to get there is just go to facebook.com/thepatriotdetroit, and you'll be able to see both Dr. Klein and myself. And our telephone number remains the same. We've already got some text questions in for the show, and we'll be happy to take yours. If you don't have the app, you should go get it at your app store, the WDTK app, and that's another good way to send questions in for Dr. Klein. And Dr. Klein, we've kind of changed positions here. I can't see you as well as I usually do.
I still hear your magnificent voice from here.
Well,
but now people can see what we look like. Is that good? I don't know.
Well, I think it is.
Good.
I've never...
Confidence in my friend John.
Well, why not? I was mentioning that you were in San Francisco.
Oh, what fun that was. Was
it? They liked you out there.
I had a good time. I loved to lecture. It was a medical convention, and I was asked to be the keynote speaker. And I tell you the truth, and I let them know the only reason I said yes, because it's been a busy year, is my daughter and my grandchildren live in San Francisco. So I had a double whammy of some good times.
Yeah, and they gave you a certificate of appreciation, which I'm going to read, if you don't mind. Not the whole thing, but...
I'm pleased to have that.
Conference series and the editors of Journal of Clinical Case Reports, Journal of Clinical Research and Bioethics, and Journal of Clinical Trials wish to thank Professor Dr. Richard E. Klein, Michigan Head and Neck Institute, USA, for his phenomenal and worthy keynote presentation on better awareness, better treatment for TMD and OSA at the 6th International Conference on Clinical and Medical Case Reports held during October 16th through the 18th, 2017 in San Francisco, USA. So it's an international organization.
International. They have places in Europe and in Asia and in the United States. And if my wife is listening, I got a call this morning from someone who was at that convention and wants me to lecture in Hawaii. I think my wife will like that one.
Did you say no, of course? You just didn't have the time.
I said I'll think about it because I have to look at my schedule, but I'm very interested in that.
Very good.
I'm just hoping it's in the middle of the winter.
Well, since we have a couple of questions here that were sent in prior to the show, I'd like to get to them. If that's...
I'm ready.
Okay, and we'll do just that. My question for Dr. Klein is, I often hear popping noises when I eat. Also, my jaw sticks open for a few seconds. Why is that?
That does sound like a TMJ problem. There is something called the meniscus, a disc. We have them in our knees. And some people, when they get older, hear a little pop, pop, pop when you're going up and down the steps. It's the disc moving. The same thing with our TM joint. The lower jaw hinges right here in front of the ear into a little cave in the skull. And there's a disc there, just like in your knee, but it's a different type of disc. And when it's loose, it moves. And so if you're chewing and you hear pop, pop, pop as you're moving around, it's the disc moving. Now, if that's all that's there and there's no problem, I just explain it to the patients. 2 out of 3 people in the world have joint noises. It's not a big deal. It's a big deal if there's pain, or in this person's case, I didn't hear if it was a man or a woman, this person's case, if it sticks or locks, that means the disc doesn't just move a little bit, it squirts out of the joint and gets stuck. So it's almost like if you had a pen and you put it in the doorway still works, but it doesn't go all the way. So that person probably occasionally has the disc move a little bit more than it pops and clicks with, moves a little bit further, and it gets stuck right there. That's a definite TMJ problem. whoever you are, you should seek some care with a TMJ dentist.
Yeah, it's a female.
Female?
Mm-hmm.
It happens 80% in the world of TMJ cases are 80% are female.
Really?
Just another statistic. Having nothing to do with what we just said about the disc, but the NIH and the, I think it was Michigan, yes, it was Michigan, that did a study that proved that women feel more pain than men, and they take care of themselves better. So if women feel pain more than men and they take care of themselves better, when it starts to hurt, they go get it looked at and treat it, which is probably why 80% are female all over the world, because they just don't let it ride. They take care of it, which is not a scientific situation. That what I just told you is, but my personal feeling is that's why women live longer. I think they take care of themselves better over a lifetime. That's just my opinion. The other part,
you know what? There's probably statistics that would prove that.
I haven't seen them, but it makes sense. Yeah, there are statistics that show that 80% of females worldwide seek care compared to 20% of men for TMJ problems.
All right, I have another question here. This one is from Rachel. I'm a 50-year-old married female. I find myself very tired and irritable during the day. I do snore quite heavily. What are my treatment options if I do, in fact, have sleep apnea?
Boy, that woman sounds like what we've been talking about for years here. If you have obstructive sleep apnea, the airway closes down for some reason. There's a lot of different reasons, but generally the tissue, like the tongue and the soft palate, when you're awake, they're rigid, and you're talking, you're breathing, you're exhaling. At night, when you relax, they relax, and it closes down upon itself and just shuts off the airway. So when that happens, your cells are not getting oxygen. They're not exhaling the carbon dioxide that is, right now, you're watching me and you're breathing in and breathing out. That's normal. And it's normal for all of us to do that. But if you stop breathing, you're not getting new oxygen. You're not getting rid of the caustic carbon dioxide, and you start to have some diseases. Every cell in your body that needs the oxygen and needs to get that carbon dioxide out of there starts to deteriorate. And so you get tired. You get tired during the day. But over decades, it can kill you. It's nothing to worry about. If you've got it, it can be treated. But over decades, if it's not treated, you're going to die earlier and have an unhealthy elderly life because your cells are not healthy. So if you're tired during the day and you snore, chances are that you have sleep apnea. If you're tired during the day and don't snore, it might be a lot of other reasons. But when you put the two of those together, statistically, that woman probably has sleep apnea. And it's best for her to get it checked out by a sleep physician.
Okay, and that would be go to tmjmichigan.com. And
if she has it, I could guide it and to work with a sleep physician to have her life better and live longer.
Okay, and we thank you very much for the text. Our phone number is 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK, just as it is during the immediately previous show. And, of course, you can text at any time. You know, I was watching, they're making a big deal about some hearings that are going to be held now on this Uranium One deal with, and I know you've been to a number of hearings and testified, and do you know what happens to all that information? I mean, they've taken you down word for word, and you know that information is now in the Congressional Registry. And what happens to it after it goes in there? What actions take place? How do you find out if any actions at all have been done?
Well, it's our government, and I love America, and I love our government, but the government has too many people working in it, as we've been talking about for years. And every time that I'd been there, they needed proof that sleep problems could cause accidents with truckers. And so the American Academy of Sleep and Breathing, what they did is they had all the people that belong to it look up every peer-reviewed article, every article of worth that they could find on how sleep apnea can cause a truck crash or a train crash. And we sent thousands of these articles to the Department of Transportation. So they have them all. So what you said is right. They have them. if you ask me, do they read them? That I don't know. They have the information, and someday they'll get around to it when it becomes a priority. And that's how the government works. They can't do everything, so they prioritize. And they've been putting off sleep apnea with truckers for 6 or 7 years now, although they know that it does kill people. It kills not only the driver, but anybody the driver runs over. So do they have that information? Absolutely. No, we've given them, and not just me, but a lot of people have given them information. And when we talk, they take, like you said, they take all the words that are spoken and they write it down. So they have all that information. But can you imagine how much information that is with everything that they get every single day from everybody all over, in committees all over the world? Do they have time to read it? They will get to it eventually. That's the problem, I think. They eventually, with some lower priority situations, might not even be looked at for a while.
Well, who would get to it? That was my question. I mean, would it go in front of another committee, or would it go to some medical people or some advice? That's, again, and I don't expect you to answer the question.
I don't work in politics,
right.
And which is why I try to circumvent that. I didn't think I was circumventing it. I thought I was answering as much as I know.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, I don't know that. I remember when I was talking to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Association, and there was a panel. There were two attorneys for the transportation industry, and there was a physician and another physician who dealt with sleep. And I mentioned that a friend of mine had a stroke, and his wife said, could the stroke be related to his sleep apnea? Asked that of his neurologist. And the neurologist says, oh, I don't believe in that sleep apnea crap. That's something new they're just trying to make something out of. And what you just did, John, by looking and your eyes getting big like that, because you know about sleep apnea, but that's exactly what everybody on the panel did. You're kidding, because they're experts in it. And they knew about it, but not everybody knows about it. And some doctors don't even know about it. So it's an education thing that I advise them to do, because if everybody is aware of it, you're going to have a healthier America. But not everybody knows about it. And what are they going to do about it? We'll find out. I don't know how to answer it any differently.
Okay, I have another... This is from that same person who asked what the treatment options for sleep apnea are.
Well, that's right. I'm sorry. I didn't give that options. If you have sleep apnea, the first thing you have to do is find out if you have it. And that is a test while you're sleeping to see what happens when you're sleeping. So the treatments, if you have apnea, are multifold. It used to be a CPAP, C-P-A-P, continuous positive air pressure. While you're sleeping, there's a mask that blows air, the room air, into your mouth or nose. And by blowing it in, it keeps the collapse from happening. A good example is you have a balloon with a hole in it, and it's shrinking, and you just keep puffing, and blowing it up. Every time it shrinks, it still looks like a balloon. So if that CPAP blows air through your nose or mouth or both, then it keeps the airway open. That's one. Two, you could control apnea if you have mild sleep apnea and you're 40 pounds overweight by losing 40 pounds. You will open up the airway, because as we gain weight, we gain it, men in their bellies, women in their hips, both of the sexes gain it in their muscles of their throat and the area around the airway. So losing weight will open up the airway. What I do is an oral appliance for people who won't wear the CPAP, and what it does is it brings your jaw down and forward with a mouthpiece that keeps the airway from collapsing. And then there's behavioral sometimes. If you have mild sleep apnea and you sleep on your back mostly, gravity pulls the tongue and the soft tissue down more when you're on your back. So if it's not real severe and you have mild sleep apnea, you might just cure it by having a slumber bump or a fanny pack that prevents you from sleeping on your back. It's a little device that doesn't stab you in the back, but it's a little uncomfortable. Not enough to wake you up, but you just don't want to sleep on your back. And if you have that and can't afford it, you could take an old tennis ball and sew it in your T-shirt and it'll prevent you from sleeping on your back. That can cure sleep apnea or control it. There's no cure of it. It can control it if you have mild sleep apnea. So there's a lot of situations that depends on the person or what type of apnea they have that can be of help for that person.
Okay, we have another text question. My brother had a stroke and now he's tired all the time. Could this be sleep apnea or could it cause sleep apnea?
Well, that's almost what I just talked about before. Absolutely. And the reason is, and the people on the panel understood that. Obviously, that man's neurologist didn't understand it. But what happens when you stop breathing? Your brain gets the message and it sends a little signal so you can choke or cough, open up like that. When you open up the airway, you're breathing again. So it makes you do that, which is why people who have sleep apnea sometimes wake up to say, I'm choking, or I'm gasping. That's bringing air back into you. It's on purpose. But what happens, the brain understands, I didn't get any oxygen for 10 seconds or 30 seconds. That's been going on for years. I need that oxygen. It's got to go where it belongs. So what it does when it gets the oxygen, it tells the heart to beat faster so the oxygen can get where it belongs. And that increases blood pressure. It enlarges the heart. So people die from cardiac arrest 20 years later. My grandfather, years ago, had a friend who died from sleep apnea, and they didn't know about it back then. And it was like, at least he died peacefully in his sleep. Well, that peaceful sleep, hopefully, if they'd have known about sleep apnea 40 years ago, maybe he would have lasted another 30 or 40 years. So when you stop breathing and the blood pressure gets higher, you're more prone to have stroke when the blood pressure is real high. So for that gentleman who tested that, absolutely, a stroke can be caused by obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay, well, we have another text question coming in, and we have room for you on the phone if you'd like to ask questions. This is the Getting Out of Your Pain Lane program, Getting Out of the Pain Lane program with Dr. Richard Klein. 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. And a quick reminder that we're streaming this on Facebook Live. And if you want to see what Dr. Klein looks like, you can go right there and see him.
First time we've ever done this.
It is the first time we've ever done it. And it may be the last. We never know. No, I'm sure we'll do it again because it's kind of fun. And it's fun for the audience, too. Our telephone number is 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. This is Getting Out of the Pain Lane here on FM 101.5 and AM 1400, The Patriot.
Patriot News Online is sponsored by Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer. Don't let the flu turn you into a zombie with a fever this Halloween season. With the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer, you won't be tricked by any spooky symptoms.
Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, Dennis Prager, Sean Hannity, John McCullough, Michael Medved, Larry Elder on The Patriot. Attention! This is a public notice from Citizens Disability. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right if you suffer from physical and mental disability. Whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, Citizens Disability can help. You'll be given an advocate who will evaluate your situation, handle your application, and deal with Social Security. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. We only get paid if you win your case. There are a number of conditions that could make you eligible for disability benefits, many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call Citizens Disability today to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation. 800-620-1624, 800-620-1624, 800-620-1624. That's 800-620-1624.
Managing an insurance claim can be a full-time job. Insurance companies may ask for detailed information and documentation, placing an overwhelming burden on you while you're trying to put your life back in order. AzerTech's licensed public adjusters understand the complexities of insurance policies and will handle everything for you. When disaster strikes your home or business, your first call must be to AzerTech. A recent commercial customer had their roof damaged in a storm. The insurance company came out and made an initial offer of $30,000. They called Azertech, who investigated the claim and pointed out additional damages missed by the insurance company. Azertech was then able to negotiate a settlement of over $175,000 for the customer. You wouldn't go to court without a lawyer. Don't file an insurance claim without Azertech. Get paid what you are owed. For a free consultation, call Azertech Public Adjusters at 855-CLAIM-55. That's 855-252-4655. 855-CLAIM-55. And please let them know you heard about it on The John McCullough Show.
Hi, I'm Tricia Harris with the Rakowski Law Firm. We are a full-service law firm specializing in estate planning, probate, and elder law. Our attorneys and legal team are committed and dedicated to each of our clients, protecting their assets and allowing them to leave a lasting legacy. Whether you just own a home or have $1 million, each and every client becomes family. Our firm is unique in that we charge a flat fee for almost all of our estate planning services. If you call, text, or email our firm 2 times or 100 times, you'll never be charged more. We would love to hear from you and extend a free consultation at either of our offices in Rochester or Bloomfield Hills. Call us today at 248-792-9193 or visit our website, RakowskiLawFirm.com, RUTKOWSKI lawfirm.com. Right now, you get to decide the legacy you leave. Let the Rakowski Law Firm help you build something that outlives you.
This is Getting Out of the Pain Lane with Dr. Richard Klein here on FM 101.5 and AM 1400, The Patriot. Our telephone number, 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. And the question here came in via text, Dr. Klein, on a child snoring. Is there a possibility that a child could have sleep apnea? And I think we've answered that question in previous shows.
Yes, but not everybody listens to the show every time, and it's a good question. The answer is yes. It's more prevalent in older men. I think I mentioned before that most TMJ cases are female, but most obstructive sleep apnea cases worldwide are older men. But you can have obstructive sleep apnea if you're a skinny little boy or a little girl. Statistics are just statistics. Just because more people have it when you're older doesn't mean you cannot have it. Most likely a child that has it breathes through their mouth, probably has a lower jaw that's much smaller than the upper jaw. But what I mean by that, if the lower jaw is really small compared to the upper jaw, it collapses easier and could close upon itself while the child is sleeping. And if the child is snoring, it's unusual, but children can snore. About two years ago, my godson, who was about 4, was sleeping over around Easter. And his older sister slept in our bed with my wife, and I slept in the guest bedroom with this little boy. And he was snoring like a truck driver. I really shouldn't say that because not all truck drivers snore, but we all say that as a euphemism, you know. And I'm not used to that because my wife doesn't snore. And it kept me awake. And finally, I almost fell asleep and I heard the snoring stop. And I jerked up awake and I put my hand on his back and on his chest, and I could feel that he was breathing, and I relaxed and fell asleep because I was worried. Yes, children can have it. And unfortunately, he didn't have it. He was just snoring. And he has a small jaw, so I was wondering about it. But I did have a little test on him just to make sure, and he just snores. Snoring is obnoxious to somebody else, but it doesn't mean you have sleep apnea, as you and I know from previous talks. But yes, a child can have sleep apnea.
Okay, and we had a question that came in that is out of Dr. Klein's field of study. He's going to check on what you mentioned in that text, and then he will call you when he has the information so he can send you where you need to go to get the information.
I love doing research, and so a question out of my field, I don't want to say, I'm not interested in answering that. I'll do my best to find out a good answer and talk with that person.
Okay, and texting seems to be the way to get into you tonight because there's another one. Dr. Klein, I'm very busy with lots going on. I don't sleep much. I've been told I may have sleep apnea, and should be tested for it. How long is a sleep apnea test? I can't see fitting something like that in my calendar. Thanks.
Sounds like a man or a woman who likes to work, and I love those people. Every American should be that way. We have a better America. An all-night polysomnography can be done at a sleep center. What I do, and I cannot diagnose sleep apnea. I work with it, and I work with a sleep physician or many sleep physicians. So this person could come to my office, and I would give them a device they can go home and sleep with their normal sleep, whether it's during the day or at night. And they can have anybody bring the device back. It's small. You just put a little belt on and put a thimble on your thumb and put a little something around your nose, and it'll tell me not all the bells and whistles that a full study will do, but it will tell me everything you need to know about obstructive sleep apnea. It will tell me the oxygen rate. Does that person sleep on their stomach or their back? There's a little GPS in there. And it'll tell me if they stop breathing, almost stop breathing, or if they snore. And if it looks like we have sleep apnea, then for insurance reasons, they have to see a sleep specialist and have the real big study. And then treatment could be an oral appliance if they don't want the CPAP or a CPAP. But if you have all of those symptoms and you're tired during the day, and it's not just because you're too busy, like I said before, it will eventually cause death or lots of problems as you get older. So if you're that busy now and you want to stay busy, I would advise to get it checked. I didn't know I had sleep apnea until I started getting involved in this. I learned pain, as most of the listeners here know, a long time ago by being in a car accident. And it was easy for me to understand pain as I was studying to get certified in pain management because I had it. So when I was reading the words, they meant a lot to me because I understood them. So I went to get an all-night test just to see what they were all about because I was going to get involved with sleep apnea and found out I had it. 80% of the people in the world that have sleep apnea do not know that they have it. Not 80% of the people in the world have sleep apnea, but the ones who are apneic don't know they have it 80% of the time. And I was one of those. So I switched to an oral appliance. I tried the CPAP, and I'm a scuba diver. It just wasn't for me. It would have worked, but I toss and turn a lot, and that hose kept getting pulled off and wrapped around me. And so I tried the oral appliance, and for me, that works. But I didn't know I had it. And this person sounds to me like it's highly possible that there is sleep apnea there, and I would get the test.
Okay. The holidays are coming, and I was thinking about how my mother used to have little, fits when I would put too much candy in my mouth. And especially really hard candy. And I would just be, my cheeks would be bulging like a little chipmunk. And she was always worried I was going to throw my jaw out with those things they used to call jaw breakers.
That's why they call them jaw breakers.
Well, yeah, because back then they were. Mm-hmm. I mean, they literally were. But can you do damage? I mean, I see people have taco eating contests and hot dog eating contests and so forth, and you see them just cramming stuff into their mouth. Can you damage that TMJ, temporomandibular joint?
The answer is yes, but not everybody will damage it. I mean, you have people doing those tap dancing or dancing things to see the last one standing, and they dance for 2 days straight without sleep. Some people can do that, and some people could eat jawbreakers. But if you have a weak joint, you can't. So it didn't affect you. Your mom was doing the right momly thing for you. She didn't want you to hurt yourself, but it didn't, and it wouldn't with most people. But you're right. That's why they call them jawbreakers, because anything that hard, here's why. The brain tells your muscles how much strength it needs to chew. You learned that when you were going off of pablum. You knew if you bit down as hard into mashed potatoes as you would bite into a carrot, it hurt. So the brain figures it out. You don't put something in your mouth, use a calculator, and say, how many pounds per square inch do I need to use these cheek muscles? You just bite into it, and by the squishiness or the softness or the hardness of it, the brain tells you how much force. So what happens with jawbreakers or any of those really hard candies, the brain says more, because it's not chewing. And then when it breaks, bam, the jaw bangs together and jumps and squeezes on that meniscus we were talking about. And I tell my patients who have a TMJ problem never to chew hard candies or ice, because when that jaw bangs together, it's like you putting a pancake on the floor and jumping on that pancake with a pair of high heels. That's what your teeth and your jaw are doing to the meniscus or the disc if you have a TMJ problem. If you don't have a problem, you see a lot of people chewing ice, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, that person who's was out of your field, I'm going to read you what they wrote.
Okay.
My father passed away of PSP, which is that progressive supranuclear palsy, I assume, a year ago. But he did use a CPAP years before his death, just trying to figure out PSP and what any commonalities other people have. Not necessary for a phone call, doing my own research. He was a truck driver, diesel exhaust fumes, also ate a lot of Great Lakes fish. Just
the Great Lakes fish, that's healthy. Using the CPAP tells me he had a sleep apnea problem. If the sleep apnea was completely controlled by it, or if he didn't use it properly, there's a lot of cellular damage, as we've been talking about, from not getting enough oxygen. So my answer generically was going to be yes. I just wanted to be a little more specific, and thank you for texting back.
okay.
Sorry about your father. Understand that my father died too.
Okay, yeah, I'm crossing that number off my list of things to do for later on this evening. Speaking of cases that you've had since you've been gone for a while, when did you get back?
Oh, I worked all day Friday, went to the airport, flew to San Francisco, woke up and spent the weekend with my grandkids and my daughter, and then I lectured on Monday, and then I chaired a conference on Tuesday morning and came back Tuesday night.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it wasn't gone that long.
So you've been seeing patients and so forth?
Today and yesterday and Friday, so I missed 2 days of patients, which means I was too busy coming back.
So what was the most interesting patient that you've seen this month? We're 3 weeks into it.
Well, I've had some very easy ones, which are interesting to me because I don't have to do much. But the ones I like the most are where they come in and they have a stack of reports from neurologists, from ENT, and when I look at that, they've been complaining about ear problems, eye problems, dizziness, neck aches, and they have every other specialty ruled out. That makes me feel I might have an idea here. Because when I tell my patients, yeah, you have dizziness, that might be a TMJ problem. When you have eye pain, that might be a TMJ problem. When you can't swallow, that might be When I tell them this, I tell them that might be a problem. But when that person comes in with 15 different specialties all ruling out what they looked at, then it's pretty much I've got the only thing left, and it's probably really TMJ, not just maybe TMJ problems. And so those are really nice to me. And I get 1 or 2 of those a month. And I really like those because every possibility of something else causing those symptoms other than TMD has already been ruled out. And all I have to do is put some glove on and say, does this hurt when I press up inside their mouth? And if it hurts, I tell them, you've got a lot of muscles all over your neck, your face, your head. Some are too small for us to find. There's a little muscle that attaches to your eardrum, and it pulls on it to protect it from loud noises. And if that muscle gets tight because you have a TMJ problem, you have hearing problems. Phonophobia, sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound, ear congestion. If it's all been ruled out by an ENT and all been ruled out by an ophthalmologist, then I'm pretty confident that I can help that patient that way. Other than that, I'm always honest. You might have 2 reasons for it. You might have a TMJ problem and these other problems, or you might have all those other problems because of something other than TMD. So I'm always very careful and very cautious and also very informative. I like to explain each of those symptoms in detail with models so the person doesn't worry about it. And worrying is so important. When you are in pain, You don't tighten up your toes and your knee. What do you tighten up, John? You tighten up your face, your jaw, and your neck. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see. Those are the kind of patients I see. They're stressed. And so the more stress I can relieve by taking time and explaining each individual thing, they relax a little bit because they know I don't have a tumor. I don't have a problem that they all rule that out, and now you're going to fix the muscles. Hey, I'm happy here. I love the smiles on their face, and I love it better when I actually treat them and problems go away. That's even more universally full of happiness for me.
This is the Getting Out of the Pain Lane with Dr. Richard Klein. Our telephone number is 800-923-9385. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, by the way, we don't script this show at all, so a lot of these questions that I give to Dr. Klein come as a complete surprise to him. And
I'd say they're off the cuff, but I don't have a cuff.
In any case, when we come back after this short break, I want to talk about the conference that you were at. I'm sure you have, when you're leading a session, question and answers.
Yes.
I want to hear some of the questions these learned medical guys and gals came up with that they asked you about what you were talking to them about, because I think it would be very telling to see where they were lacking in their knowledge. We'll do that, and we will take your calls and texts at 800-923-9385 or 800-923-WDTK, and we'll do that right after this here on The Patriot.
Student loan debt has now surpassed credit card debt. In fact, the average student loan debt is about $48,000. If you have student loan debt, whether from the government or a private lender, you must check out SoFi. Just go to trysofi.com to see how easily you can consolidate all your loans into one simple payment that will save you thousands and pay off your debt faster. Can you believe that most people with student loan debt have never considered refinancing their student loans? Go to trysofi.com. That's trysofi.com from your phone, your tablet, or computer, and in less than 2 minutes, you'll know how much you can save. SoFi has a 5-star rating with Student Loan Hero, so you know you can trust them. Go to trysofi.com. That's trysofi.com, and once you qualify, you'll get instant access to career coaching, network events, and great customer service. It takes less than a couple of minutes. It won't impact your credit score, and there's absolutely no obligation. Go to trysofi.com. That's trysofi.com. Terms and conditions apply. NMLS number 1121636.
So, how am I doing, doctor?
Well, you really need to lose some weight. Your blood pressure is high and you're borderline diabetic.
Okay, but not this week because I've got my kid's birthday, so there will be cake.
Next week, then?
Well, next week is my sister's wedding. More cake.
Okay, the week after?
Bowling league banquet.
Week after that?
Anniversary.
After that?
National Cheesecake Appreciation Week.
You know you need to lose weight, and you will when the time is right. Guess what? The time is right now. Because there's no good time to have a heart attack or diabetes or cancer.
The week after that?
Cinco de Mayo.
After that?
Mayo de Cinco.
You just made that up.
Losing just 10% of your body weight can decrease your risk for chronic diseases. So pledge to lose 10% and get a free starter kit at michigan.gov/myhealthiertomorrow.
But what about all you can eat pierogi day?
You'll start today.
Today.
Sponsored by the Michigan Department of Community Health and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, an initiative of the Michigan 4x4 Plan.
Hugh Hewitt is looking for a change at State.
If you called the President of the United States a moron, of course it's a story. In Exxon, if the number 2 guy called the CEO, called Rex Tillerson a moron, Tillerson would find out about it and act on it. It's not a Washington, D.C. deal. Look, they need a change at State. They do.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Weekday mornings at 6 on FM 101.5 and AM 1400. The Patriot.
Another crash on the way? Are you prepared? Mary is.
After the 2008 crash, my retirement portfolio, my 401k, really took a hit. And I vowed never to allow that to happen again. So I went out and I got educated. One of the things that sets Online Trading Academy apart from other schools is the fact that the instructors are not academics. They're real-world traders whom have traded in the pits in Chicago, in the NYMEX in New York, and they teach us just a multitude of things.
Mary learns strategies from professionals taught by professionals to increase profit in up or down markets. She came to a free power trading workshop, and you can too.
And if you really want to take control of your financial life, Go for that initial seminar and see if it resonates with you. I can't recommend it enough.
Call 844-250-8723. 844-250-8723 to reserve your seat. That's 844-250-8723. Learn how to make money in any market.
This is Getting Out of the Pain Lane with Dr. Richard Klein. I'm John McCullough. We're taking your calls on just about any kind of pain from, let's say, the shoulders up here on the Patriot. 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. The preferred method of entry tonight, though, seems to be through the text that's in the screen here. Those of you watching on Facebook can see that I'm pointing to. And if you text in, they come in just as fast as a phone call. They come in real time, and you're welcome to ask questions that way. And if you don't have that app on your phone, you really should, because you can pick up the Patriot anywhere in the world, absolutely interference-free, and you can get the McCullough Minutes, and you can get all the other shows, all the other hosts, and you can go to the spot that says Text John McCullough. That's where you go, and that sends that text right in here to this screen. So if you want to ask a question, some people seem to be more comfortable asking that way, feel free to do it. And we'll be happy to take your questions. I was asking about questions that you got asked at this medical conference in San Francisco, where doctors who want to gain more knowledge about TMJ and sleep apnea and so forth, I'm interested as to what kind of questions they asked.
Well, I did an explanation in technical terms on each and every one of the symptoms that I may be able to treat. But I forgot one. It was dysphagia. And I had it listed. So someone asked me, well, how can you have dysphagia, that's difficulty swallowing, from a jaw joint problem? And, of course, I knew the answer. I just didn't have it typed in on the slide. I had it listed, dysphagia. So you could have difficulty swallowing if the muscle called the anterior digastric. Break it down. Anterior toward the front. First part of digestion is what? Chewing. So chewing is the first part of digestion before you swallow the food. The anterior digastric is a chewing muscle. Right here you've got a little bone called a hyoid bone. It's a floating bone, a real small one. If you ever remember Columbo, he would say, oh, they were murdered. They were strangled because that bone is broken. The anterior digastric is a muscle. If it gets tight, it attaches right here on either side of the symphysis, the midline of the chin, and it pulls on that floating bone, and you have trouble swallowing. So I explained that because someone asked that. But the fun part I had is I'd like to ask questions. So the next guy spent an hour and a half on some great research. He found that people have strokes during migraines. And he looked at 50 different reasons that maybe they had a stroke during a migraine. And then he ruled each and every one of them out, and he told how he ruled that. So then he says, so we still don't know the exact reason that a small amount of people have strokes during a migraine, and it's 27% more women that have strokes than men during a migraine. So I just mentioned what I do. I don't treat migraines. I treat terribly painful headaches, which sometimes are misnomered a migraine. And what happens when you have a lot of pain? You tense up. When you tense up, your blood pressure rises because you're stressed. The University of Michigan did a study a few years ago that showed that more pain is felt by women, and women actually feel more pain than men, and they treat it differently. So in this case, I asked him, if you have more women having strokes during a migraine, and migraine is painful, causing stress and causing a rise of blood pressure, do you think hypertension had a part to do with that? And he just looked at me and said, we didn't take the blood pressure. So he was looking in the literature, a literature search of all the things that could happen. And I felt embarrassed because he's a professor, but a great professor doing this, and I'm thinking something else. So because of that, the person that is running it, he came over to me, and I thought, oh, he's going to chew me out. And he asked me to chair the meeting the next day because he wanted me to ask questions. And I looked at what it was, and I said, I don't do any of those things, but I have a little bit of knowledge of how it affects with what I do. He says, that's what I want. So he made me the chair the next day of taking over after the thing to make sure that there were some questions asked properly by the other people. So I said, this is what I think about that. What do you guys think about it? And then it started to flow. And as you know, from your radio show, once a person calls, more people open up. And basically that's what he wanted because people weren't answering any questions or asking any questions. So that was fun, too.
Yeah. We're going to talk about anything new that's coming up. I got one more break I got to get in, and let's get it in now so that I don't get backed up against the clock. We'll get this break in, and then anything new that's come down that you know of that maybe was news to you, or some research that's come to a conclusion, or whatever, the new things. And we haven't normally asked that at the beginning of the show, and got also caught up with text messages that we didn't have time to do it. So we'll do that. We have time to fit in one more phone call or text 800-923-9385. That's 800-923-WDTK. As we continue with Getting Out of the Pain Lane here on The Patriot.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. Whirlpool is asking federal regulators to back 50% tariffs on imported large residential washing machines and parts over 3 years. The Michigan-based appliance giant is also asking the U.S. International Trade Commission to recommend quotas on parts to prevent rivals Samsung and LG from building component assembly operations in the U.S. Samsung and LG say Whirlpool wants to stifle competition as its products have lagged in innovation. Looking to reduce distribution expenses, JetBlue Airways says it ended relationships with 12 smaller online agencies in a bid to save costly third-party transaction fees and drive more bookings onto its own website. Stocks were mixed at today's market close. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up 5 points. The NASDAQ Composite closed down 19. That's Your Money Now.
Hi, you lost?
Yes! Medicare is such a maze!
United Healthcare can help.
Is that why you're driving this bulldozer?
Hop in! Choosing a plan doesn't have to be complicated. United Healthcare has the people, tools, and plans to get you through it, including the only Medicare plans with the AARP name.
That was easy.
Need to find a Medicare plan? Get help now at uhcmedicare.com. AARP Medicare plans from United Healthcare. United Healthcare pays royalty fees to AARP. AARP is not an insurer.
I love to play it safe, especially when it comes to my facility and my guys. Everyone's got their PPE. Safe boots, safe goggles, safe gloves, safe everything. If I could make the vending machines safer around here, I would. Believe me, I've tried. That's why I love Grainger. When it comes to safety, Grainger's got my back. They help keep my facility safe and my people safer. Call clickgrainger.com or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Larry Elder is continually dumbfounded by the media.
The Harvey Weinstein scandal is now being used by the left to say, well, Donald Trump did the same thing, so we've elected Donald Trump, we've done Harvey Weinstein. The issue is really, really, really not just what's going on in Hollywood. The issue is, well, Donald Trump.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 10 on FM 101.5 and AM 1400. The Patriot.
Ask any of the members and mentors here at Lifestyles Unlimited and they will tell you it's not how smart you are or how long and how hard you work. It's whether you have the right map to begin with. Will your current career path lead you to financial independence? Visit lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com to meet some of the members who are on the right map and on their way to financial freedom. Whether you're new to real estate investing or consider yourself a seasoned pro, Lifestyles Unlimited can take you to the next level. Visit lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com to take your first step.
These are the closing moments of the Getting Out of the Pain Lane program with Dr. Richard Klein, and I asked the question, what's new, and you were talking about the questions that in this conference that you went over with. Well, you take it from here because I can't reconstruct it.
Well, when the he asked me to chair the next session. I told him, this is not what I do. I do TMJ and sleep apnea. I know a few things. He says, well, how does it relate to gynecology, what you do? And I said, I have an answer for that. When a woman is pregnant, the brain creates chemicals to slowly expand the pelvis so they can sort of easily, have a good birth. But at the same time, those chemicals expand the TM joint. So temporarily, if you have a TMJ problem, it is controlled while you're pregnant just. And then when those chemicals stop, then your TMJ problem comes back. He says, okay, that sounds great. One more question. How about cardiology? I said, well, sleep apnea raises your blood pressure and you could have a heart attack. He says, I'd like you to be chairman for the next committee.
That's simple.
That's simple, yeah.
So there are areas that we don't talk about, really, on the show.
And I don't treat those things, but I look for them and then refer so the person gets the right help.
Oh, yeah, because basically by trade or by training, you're a dentist.
Correct.
A specially educated neuromuscular dentist, certified in pain management. There is no specialty in dentistry for TMJ and sleep apnea. In fact, there's no specialty anywhere for it.
Dentistry doesn't want it because most dentists aren't interested in it. And for a specialty, you should have a lot of people doing it, not just one or two here and there. And that's the reason the Dental Society doesn't have a specialty for a lot of these little things.
Oh. Well, that's good to know. When people call you, how long a wait will they have before they can get an appointment usually?
If they're in severe pain, they get in the same day or the next day. And generally, it's a few weeks wait.
Okay, but you will take the, because I've been in there when you've had an appointment with me and you haven't been able to keep it because not a medical appointment, talking about other things.
Some emergencies. If a dentist calls and says, I've got a patient in a chair, they can't close their mouth, I said, here's my address, you know where it is, send them right over.
Okay. Well, the website is tmjmichigan.com. That's tmjmichigan.com. Go there, you'll see the symptoms of both TMJ disorder and sleep apnea. And if you see matches there, things that match the problems that you may be having that you can't explain, nobody else has been able to explain either, then it's time to give Dr. Klein a call. All the contact information is right there at tmjmichigan.com for Dr. Richard Klein at the Michigan Head and Neck Institute. It's been a great show.
Thank you, John. I always enjoy this.
Had so much fun this time. We'll do it again next time.
Let's do that.
Okay, and thank you for listening here on The Patriot, FM 101.5 and AM 1400. See you next time.
Thank you for joining us for Getting Out of the Pain Lane with Dr. Richard Klein, sponsored by the Michigan Head and Neck Institute in Warren. The Michigan Head and Neck Institute exclusively treats TMJ and obstructive sleep apnea for thousands of patients every year. To learn more, visit their website at tmjmichigan.com.